Okay, good morning. I'm very happy to be back and doing the weekly meditations again. Sorry, it's adjusting my screen here. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna begin, and hopefully people will be coming in as we go. So we're gonna have a little discussion, and then we're gonna do some meditation this morning. So, but let's begin by just settling in, getting the mind and body together in the same place. Usually, our body's here and our mind is in Paris, or, you know, running back to our 5-year-old self or whatever, but rarely present. So just gather yourself and get ready for the session. Pensando samgara shiri sempema karajabani shuna susulana tutenga saso katera manamasu wate. Umichikinki Pujane to Susan Gay Clinton when it and some sugar is winter about so it may shall also well done. So we're going to begin like we begin every session with our bodhicitta motivation. Oh, there we go. So bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word. It means awakened mind heart. And the definition is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, though we work on ourselves a lot in this path, we do so ideally for the sole purpose of being able to benefit others through becoming enlightened. So, that begins with compassion. When we see the suffering of others, there's hopefully a natural compassion that arises, and we can help. We can always help in various ways, but ultimately, what we can do is a speck of dust on Mount Everest for what an enlightened person can accomplish. So, if we could just at least have the wish that the time we spend together this morning benefits not only ourselves, but others as well. So take a moment to do that. Okay, so I asked for questions and I see Tess. Hey, Tess. How to support motivation when it gets low? Yeah, it depends on why it's low. Like, can you give me more information? I'll start to answer because I know there's a bit of a time lag, but do you know why it gets low? Because that might. Hey, Melina. Um, so I will to start talking about it. And if Tess, if you know why, if there's a specific thing, then please put that in the chat and I will address that too. So motivation, we always talk about like bodhicitta motivation, like I just did, but I think Tess is referring to just like the motivation to practice, motivation to continue walking on the path. If I'm wrong, Tess, let me know. But if we're talking about bodhicitta motivation, then we need to remember the suffering of others, really, and to think of them all as our dear mother and or someone else that we loved greatly that was really kind to us. And then, really contemplate all the sufferings in each of the six realms. And it just becomes almost like we don't have a choice, but to have bodhicitta. And in the same way as for the other kind of motivation to practice low around physical challenges. Okay. So before I continue what I was going to say, I'm going to answer Tessa's specific point here. Yeah, so you know, um, we can have different physical uh, issues, right? So we can have back pain or arthritis with our hands, or various types of pains, sicknesses, difficulties, and so forth. And yes, if the practice is painful, we're not going to be motivated to practice. Yeah, that's mostly what that's okay, Melina. I'm going to talk about that too. Um, so um, so it can if practice is painful, then we're not going to want to practice, which is why, like, even psychologically, okay, um, um, oh, if our practice is painful physically or mentally or emotionally, we're not going to want to continue to practice, okay? And our motivation is going to really sink. That's why we need to be gentle with ourselves on every level. So that means that we don't come down really hard on ourselves if we weren't able to practice as much as we wanted, or if we just spent the whole time distracted, then we just, oh, I, this is, I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible practitioner. I'm never going to get anywhere, whatever, this kind of negative thought. It, it makes the practice a negative thing. And then so it becomes really difficult for us to practice then because we associated with this negativity. It's the same if we allow our body to remain in pain, then it's the same thing. We're not going to want to practice because we're associating practice with a negative experience, right? So what we need to do then is to um, find a way to practice without having physical pain. Now, this doesn't mean that the moment we get a little twinge in our thigh, we give up and lay down or whatever. Like, there's a certain amount of discomfort that may come from time to time for a healthy body when we're sitting in meditation. But if we have serious issues, if we're really sick, or if um, there's persistent, chronic pain, whether it's our back, our legs, our hands, whatever it is, then we need to make whatever adjustments are necessary so we don't have that pain when we practice. Okay. And, like recently I've been sick, and, I was really frustrated because I couldn't sit up and do my practice. And I was just thinking, like, what am I going to do? I can't sit up. And I'm just like, just lay down, dummy. Like, what is your problem? So I laid down and did my practice. Now, of course, we don't want to do it like that all the time if we don't have to, because we'll just end up falling asleep. And there's a reason that we have the meditation posture and so forth and so on. But if we have to lay down, then we lay down. If we need to, um, I don't know, stretch before I just accommodate our body like we would for anything else. You know, it's important to remember that, like, throughout these different practices and stuff, like, there's a structure that we should follow, as an ideal, okay? But uh we can there is leeway within that structure and even creativity within that structure. So, you know, for example, like, I have ADHD. And so sometimes to sit for a long time in one place drives me crazy, or to sit in the same place every time I practice. Usually I'm great with that, but sometimes it drives me nuts just to sit in the same place, looking at the same view, doing the same thing. So I don't just power through and, like, like, hold my brain down, with force, and just be like, you will, I'm like, okay, what can I do that I can keep practicing but not have this intense frustration and discomfort? I'd get up. I take my mala, I get up, I walk around the house a little bit, maybe I go outside, I sit outside, or I just sit in a different part of the house just for a little change up. These kind of adjustments can be done. So, it's the same, mentally, like if we just feel like, I'm whatever, putting ourselves down or whatever, you know, or we can't practice for long periods of time, then if we've determined we're going to practice 2 hours a day, let's say, we could do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at lunch, 15 minutes in the afternoon. That's 1 hour. But you get my point. Let's say half an hour at those different times. That's a lot easier than doing 2 hours at once. So we can adjust without giving up the practice altogether. It's really important that we have joy in our practice. And in the book that we're studying, Tugu Rinpoche's book called Awakening Wisdom, he talks about that. I think in the chapter, in part 2 of the Bodhicitta chapter, um, where he talks about the importance of joy. It's translated as diligence, which is kind of unfortunate because the more proper translation of the Tibetan word for that is joyful effort. So, you know, if Rinpoche says in the text, if we have joy, then it's just much easier to do whatever we need to do. And this is really true. Yeah. So joyful effort is like, yes, there's effort. The effort is there, but there's we're doing that with joy. So the example I normally give is if like you haven't seen your friend let's take romantic partner, maybe it's the first time they're coming to your house after some time of dating and you're very excited about it. And so you put a lot of effort into cleaning your house, planning you're going to cook for them. So you're like planning the menu, making sure the table is set really beautifully, shopping, cooking, like that's a lot of work, but you're so excited about like why you're doing this, right? You're not doing this just to do it. You're doing it because your beloved is coming. Sorry, it was an earthquake. Your beloved is coming over. Yeah, for the first time, and you're so excited about that. So if we don't have joy, right, then we need to develop joy, find the joy, right? The joy comes in understanding a few things, understanding the incredible benefit of being enlightened. And we can see even the smaller benefits in our life that we have experienced if we've been practicing, right? More patience, more ease, more relaxation, more awareness, more mindfulness, all that, being kinder to others. Like those are real benefits. That's why I say, like, it's really important to not just focus on our failures and like how we could improve, but to focus on um, all the good that our practice is doing for ourselves and others. And when we succeed, if we manage to hold our concentration for 10 minutes, we can celebrate that. Oh my God, I did, I wasn't distracted for 10 minutes. Like, believe me, that can be quite a feat, you know? So we need to focus on our successes. It's not that we shouldn't notice the things we need to improve, of course, otherwise how are we going to improve? But if we exclusively focus on the ways we need to improve, then we're going to be in trouble, right? Because like once again, negative experience associated with practice. But if we have a balance between like, yes, I could do better here, but look what I've done and good for me. Okay. So we have to celebrate that and like make a conscious stamp on that. Like this was a good thing. Okay. More importantly is tied in with bodhicitta. So if we think like I'm doing like there's so many beings who are suffering and me doing this practice means I'm going to finally be able to really help them. And if you're someone who has any kind of human compassion, that pain of like looking around the world and all the suffering and just being like, I can't do anything. What can I do for these people, or for these animals? What can I do? It's terrible. And you feel so bad. But if you're practicing, you're doing something amazing to remove the suffering of all beings. Like it's huge. And then bringing in precious human life. That's another reason to have joy. Oh my God, how did I get this opportunity? How did I get this incredible opportunity to meet the Dharma and meet great masters and have the freedom, possibly temporary in our country, have the freedom to do my practice and to study and to have the time and the interest and all the factors that come under having a precious human life, and feel, wow, And then Rinpoche talks in that chapter also about like it's in the context of a different kind of teaching, but about sort of spontaneously, without expecting anything in return, just spontaneously and joyfully helping others where we can, without thinking what's in it for me, or without clinging on to what's called subject object connection. It's a whole other thing I don't want to get into right now, but this idea of like relaxed, spontaneity, joyfulness, all of that is going to you know connect to our heart in a really important way and make us want to practice. Yeah. And so if we want to do something and we have some kind of obstacle to that, like physical pain or difficulty or mental emotional pain or difficulty, then we figure out how to work with that, how to get around that, not like rid of it, because like chronic pain, as I well know, um, doesn't just go away because you want it to, right? But as I said, you can lay down and practice, you can walk around and practice, you can split up your practice. Like there's a lot of adjustments that you can make to um, help help you practice despite the pain. We don't want to be um, somebody put this one teacher, I won't mention his name. Anyway, it's not an endurance test, you know, it's a practice. It's a loving, um, other focused, wise, profound practice. It's not running a marathon or, you know, I don't know, whatever. It's not it's not something that we want to force ourselves into, is what I'm saying. Okay, let's see. Staying on the path of being motivated without judgment about that difficult situation. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like we want to um yeah, I think you mean self-judgment um uh, um test, probably, because that's what I face too, you know, like if I don't practice as much as I want or expected to be able to, or it messed up my whole day and it's just like I don't have enough time to do as much practice as I wanted. And then it's just like, even though if I can't sit, it's because of my pain, or if I can't focus, it's my ADHD or whatever, that I could just feel you know bad about myself. Oh, you're so weak, like, why can't you do this? Da, da, da. This is not helpful. And I'm sure you know that. It's just not helpful. We have to have as much compassion for ourselves as we do for others, right? We always forget that. We tend to always forget that in America and in the West, I think, in general, and especially women. I think that we forget um, to have compassion for ourselves, it's hard, right? Because there's a pride aspect also, where it's like, I should be there. I want to be there. Why can't I be there? Or like, I'm better than this. It has like a tinge of pride. And I say this because I know this, right? We don't want to face this whole thing about like starting where you are. Okay. And I remember this in my 1 year retreat that I did in France by myself. And yeah, I was feeling very frustrated with my level, I guess, and that I couldn't do certain things and that I wasn't as good as, concentrating or whatever. And I just was like, okay, you don't like that. You'd rather be better. You'd rather be more advanced. You'd rather be, whatever, pardon me, some kind of great yogi, but you're not. Right now, you're here. Right now, you have these obstacles. You have these issues, but you also, don't forget again the positive, but you also have these strengths, you know? And unless we are willing to face those things and deal with those things in a realistic way, um, we're not going to ever be able to address them because we're ignoring them as we're looking 10 miles down the road rather than where we are right now. If we can humbly face where we are right now, then we have something like tangible, that we can work with and just be like, okay, I have this anger issue or this jealousy issue or this discipline issue or whatever it is, right? Um, then if we do that, then we have a chance of being 10 miles down the road. Yeah. But if we're only focused 10 miles down the road and somehow like ignoring where we're at or just being pissed off about where we're at, then we're not going to progress. So that's the choice, that we have. Okay. And then Melina says boredom and practice feeling road with no emotional connection. Earlier you said laziness and distraction. Yeah. So in those cases, that kind of thing, then we go to the four thoughts that change the mind, the four thoughts that lead to the Dharma, and just really think about those things. You can look at it in a book, or you can, just try to put it in your own words. Just have that like list, and just try to put it in your own words, right? So, um, let's see if I can find that. Hold on a second. Um, oh, here. Is this it? Oh my gosh, my computer is so slow. Let's see. Hang on. I don't even think I have it on this one. Maybe I do. Yeah. So, for those of you whom I know that these two who've been asking questions are very well aware of the four thoughts, but for those of you who might not know, um, the four thoughts are these four things are meant to make you want to practice. It's called turning your mind towards the Dharma, but it just means making you want to practice. Okay, so these four thoughts are precious human life, um, meaning you have a life, this life, which is really hard to get and is impermanent and is like the best way, to within these six realms, essentially the best way to progress on the path and attain enlightenment for various reasons. It's a long teaching. Okay. The second is impermanence. So that means death and impermanence. So again, this precious human life, it's not permanent, it could go at any time for various reasons. So particularly death. So we want to practice now while we have the chance, right? And how this has to do with practice, precious human life. We want to practice now while we have a precious human life. Yeah, it's so hard to get, etc. Impermanence. This life is not permanent. It's going to end sometime. I better practice. Law of cause and effect, otherwise known as karma. That's the third one. Okay, and that's saying, I have to like our suffering is caused by our own negative acts of body, speech, and mind. Okay. And so we need to practice in order to um, stop creating this negative karma, which causes us to suffer. So practice is really important. And um, uh, um, and we don't know like what we've done in the past because karma doesn't just function in one life, right? Karma goes from life to life, and also um, it's extraordinarily complicated and complex. Karma on the outside seems something quite simple. It's kind of what goes up must come down kind of idea. But when you start to parse out the details, it becomes like incredibly complex, as I said. So one of those complexities is that it's not just that you do an action, but it's like why and to whom and with what motivation, etc. And then it's not just the results of that action that like happen right away necessarily. Sometimes it does, but not necessarily. So because the conditions need to be there in order for that karma to ripen. Just like if we're going to grow an apple tree, we need to provide all the conditions, proper conditions for that thing to grow. If we don't, there's no apple tree. All right. So if we don't have the condition for that karma to ripen, and the example I always give, and I'm not even sure it's a good example, but it's the one I got, is, perhaps in some previous life, I created the karma to have a really good or a really bad relationship with my kid. Okay. But I don't have a kid this life. So that karma can't ripen because the conditions are not there. But maybe next life, I would have a kid, and then that would give that opportunity for that karma to ripen. Okay. It's really too simplistic, but that's just showing kind of the general workings of karma, which I know both of you who have asked questions already know that, but I'm explaining for others. So karma, and then the suffering of cyclic existence. So cyclic existence is this round of birth and death that we've all been on since the beginning of this time. Okay. And we need to think about that suffering. And that contemplation of that suffering has two kind of aspects to it. One is like, I don't want to suffer anymore, you know? And if I don't want to suffer anymore, I really need to practice, because enlightenment means all suffering is gone. And even well before we attain enlightenment, we have less suffering if we're studying and practicing. Okay. But more importantly, if we think about the suffering of samsara, then we have to have compassion. There's no choice, We have to have compassion for all the suffering we see in all these different realms, right? Even just in the realms that we have access to, the human realm and animal realm, suffering is endless, So we say, I want to do something about it, therefore I want to practice. Okay, so I'm just going to read these verses here from I got it on Wiki, but it says, Precious Human Life. This free and well-favored human form is difficult to obtain. Now that you have the chance to realize the full human potential, if you don't make good use of this opportunity, how could you possibly expect to have such a chance again? This is from Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. And this one is from a sutra on impermanence. This existence of ours is as transient as autumn clouds. To watch the birth and death of beings is like looking at the movement of a dance. A lifetime is like a flash of lightning in the sky, rushing in like a torrent down a steep mountain. And this one is from another sutra on the law of cause and effect, or karma. When his time has come, even a king has to die, and neither his friends nor his wealth can follow him. So for us, wherever we stay, wherever we go, karma follows us like a shadow. And finally, is from another sutra, the suffering of cyclic existence. Because of craving, attachment, and ignorance, humans, gods, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings foolishly go around like the turning of a potter's wheel. So, um, well, okay. So, Melina says, that's work for my lazy, overwhelmed, distracted, uh, but, aha. So, yes, well, um, yeah, I mean, the way out of laziness and the way out of distraction is these four thoughts. And I think if there's just, I maybe like would print out a piece of paper like that, and put it on my bathroom mirror or something like that, just to remind me, you know, to wake up, remind me like why I want to practice, you know. Um, Distraction is difficult, but it can really be helped by meditation. And I know very well the feeling of sitting and trying to watch the breath, and the mind is just bouncing all over the place, and it's the last thing we want to do, etc. You know, but if we keep trying, we can make it work. You know, um, yeah. And laziness is cured by the four thoughts, and I don't know, distraction is cured by meditation, really. And if we are spending a lot of time on our phone or watching TV or on our computer, looking at whatever, social media, YouTube, whatever, um, meditate is going to be harder. So it's not like we can't ever do those things, but it would be really helpful to um, limit them, you know, because it does do something to the brain that makes it harder to concentrate. It makes it harder to settle down and easier to be distracted. And this is really the bane of our existence as Westerners, you know, so many more distractions, so easily attainable distractions that hypnotize us, you know. Um, so, yeah, that's the best I can do, Melina. Sorry. So, so um, okay. So, okay. All right. So let's begin with our meditation. Okay. Um, gonna do a bit of mindfulness and breathing practice, and then a little bit of tongue practice. Ugh, pardon. So we're going to begin. So if you're sitting on a chair, just have your feet flat on the floor in front of you. If you're sitting on your bed or on the floor, just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable. All the other instructions are the same. You put your hands palms down on your thighs or knees, or resting one on top of the other in your lap, or with your fingers like that and your thumbs touching like that, whatever you like. Most important thing is your back is straight. Means your chin's going to be tucked in a little bit because the back of your neck is also kind of straight. Arms are relaxed. Shoulders back a little bit. It's going to open up your chest. Mouth is closed but relaxed, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth, breathing through the nose. The eyes are open, looking down in front of you a few feet. That's the posture. And it supports the mind in meditation. So there's a reason for it. So this practice is essentially trying to maintain continuous, relaxed awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. You're kind of focusing towards the end of your nose there. So take a moment just to notice that. Now, we're going to use that sensation as the focus of our awareness. And what do we do with the thoughts? So we just allow the thoughts to arise, dwell, and disappear on their own without interfering with them, without feeding them, without following after them. Okay. Just a thought arises, it dwells for a moment, it disappears, it's replaced by another. Same thing, same pattern over and over. We don't want to be judging the thoughts. We don't want to be, again, feeding them, you know, like, I don't know, we might think, oh, is it going to be hot today? What we want to do is just let that thought be there and continue to focus on our breath. What we want to avoid is, oh, is it going to be hot today? Gosh, I hope it's not going to be hot today. Oh, I really have to do this and this and this. And it's been so hot in the last weeks. I haven't been able to do that. And I remember when it was really hot and I was 12 years old and we went to Michigan and the sand burned my feet, you know, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. But that's going to inevitably happen. So, like, don't worry about it. If it does happen, the moment that we realize we got distracted, simply bring the mind back to the breath. Simple as that. Okay? So please begin that now. Focusing on the breath, letting the thoughts come and go, continuous, relaxed, open awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. You can begin to count the breaths, which is an added tool, help us realize more quickly if we've gotten distracted. So you can count either every in breath or every out breath, according to your desire, up to a total of 10 complete breaths. If you lose count, no big deal. As soon as you realize that, bring the mind back, start again at 1. If you get to 10 without losing count, don't let that fact distract you. Just go back, start again at 1. So please begin that now if you like. If you're feeling very speedy and like your mind is racing, then you can close your eyes for a little bit. Put your hands in the position of resting on your thighs. Make your room a little darker if you can. Um, make your body warmer or the room warmer. All these things will help you to kind of calm down. But watch it so that you don't calm down to the point of going to sleep. Uh, on the other hand, if you are feeling very dull and sleepy, then you want to open your eyes very wide, look outside or look into a light, look at the ceiling, kind of make your body cooler, make the room brighter, just the opposite of the previous, right? So take off a sweater, open a window. This kind of thing can really help you to adjust. And again, if you find yourself getting too speedy after doing all that, you want to, again, kind of calm down. So it's up to you. Nobody can do that for you. So it's just up to you to pay attention to where your mind is at, where your energy is at, and then adjust accordingly, the tools. And now we're going into the practice of exchange. And since we talked about having compassion for oneself today, that's going to be the subject. So Tonglen is called the practice of exchange. It means giving and receiving. And what we're receiving is the suffering of others, and what we're giving is our own happiness. And this is a practice designed specifically for developing our compassionate heart. Okay, that's its purpose, not martyrdom or self-abnegation or something like that. It's just working with the heart would open it up a little bit more to others and to compassion for ourselves. So typically there are four types of individuals or categories of individuals we would work with for this practice. So it would be someone we love a lot, someone who is neutral, so we might like recognize their face, but not a particular relationship, someone we dislike, and ourselves. So today we're going to do ourselves, okay? So I'm just going to walk you through the steps. I'm not going to explain it first because we don't have that much time, okay? So again, take the meditation posture. This one, if you want to go ahead and close your eyes, that's fine. If you prefer to meditate with your eyes open, that's also fine, no problem. Okay. So begin by just resting the mind. So that is just settling the mind in its natural state for a moment. And imagine in your heart center, so that's the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star with light going in all directions. And consider that you're breathing in gray smoke hot, dark, and heavy through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center. So there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now you're going to breathe out this white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright, through all the pores of your body. Again, the light going in all directions. Now imagine yourself in front of yourself, facing, so you're facing each other. Okay. The you that is meditating is the part of you that is completely in touch and connected to your enlightened nature or your basic goodness or your Buddha nature. And the you that you're visualizing is a part of you that is confused, in pain, frustrated, etc. Okay? So now regard yourself as you regard a dear friend, without shyness or embarrassment. Bring to mind your many good qualities, appreciating your sense of humor, your intelligence, your kindness, etc. Any talents you may have. And of course, we know that we're not perfect and we have faults as well. But just like we accept the faults of those we love and we still love them, we can accept our own shortcomings and still love ourselves. Bring to mind whatever kind of sufferings you're currently going through. Nobody knows that more intimately than you do. And generate a strong sense of compassion for yourself and the suffering you're going through and have gone through with love and compassion. Form the wish that you be free of all of this suffering once and forever. And imagine that all of your suffering that is embodied in the you that you're visualizing takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves the visualized you and it comes to meditating you. And with so much love and openness, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And the smoke dissolves into the white light of your heart center. So there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer yourself happiness, joy, anything at all that you may need to feel better, to be healthy, to support your path, and the wish that you attain full enlightenment in this very life. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. It leaves the meditating you and it goes to the visualized you. And when these rays of light touch the visualized you can see all of your suffering just lifting off and disappearing. And you see yourself relax, feel very relieved and happy. And meditating you feels really joyful for being able to do this for yourself. Now we're going to do that same process for all sentient beings. First, imagining them all around us, in front, as many as we can conceive of. Stretching all the way to the horizon, to the right again, as many as we can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Behind, same thing, all the way to the horizon, and to the left again, all the way to the horizon. So now you're in the middle of a sea of sentient beings. And the first thing we want to do here is to recognize our connection to all these beings. From Buddhist point of view, each and every one of them has at one point or another in our many previous lives been our kind and dear mother, or someone who has been like a mother to us, very kind to us. And so we want to repay their kindness. On a most basic level, we can connect to them by recognizing that every single sentient being wants to be happy and wants to avoid suffering, just like we do. On a smaller level, we can at least consider the countless ways in which we depend on others for our daily survival. If we think about food, those who grow the food, ship the food, sell it, etc., so many people, or the roads being kept up, or our utilities running, or right, someone built our house or apartment building. We're supported and connected to more beings than we can even imagine. So we think of all these beings who surround us, and we consider whatever kind of sufferings they may be going through, physical, mental, emotional. Takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves all of them and it comes to you. And without any hesitation, with so much love and compassion, you just breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into this bright white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer all of these beings your own happiness. Consider you're giving it away to them, your own good fortune, anything that they may need to feel better. And adding to all of that, the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. And all of that takes the form of white light, which is cool in temperature, light in weight, very, very bright, clean, clear. And you breathe out this white light through every pore of your body, the light going in all directions as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. And they feel so happy, so at ease, so joyful and relaxed. And you feel really joyful for being able to do this for them. Okay, now let go of the visualization altogether. Gently bringing the mind back to the breath, allowing attention on that sensation to keep the mind in the present moment, here and now. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do the closing prayers. If you look in the description box below, There is a link to download them, but I'm going to share the screen just in case there are people who haven't had a chance to download them. So these 4 prayers are long life prayers for our teachers, Dalai Lama, Jimmy Kensler Rinpoche, Pema Rinpoche, and general for all the teachers. So we're going to read these just in Tibetan. Sanri wawe kowe shinkang su, pendang de wa malu juene, chenre siwon tenzing gam soyi, sape ge gai ba tu chen shi. Om Swasti Jigme Kempe Kalo Yambaru Kukap Se Chen Se Se Bum Dawa Nito Dun Sanam Ke No Pucho Se Che Gawe Shakin Tasu So Om Swasti Sela Kyam So Chinap Tinjun Le Unsin Da Se Gyuchu Pema Samsum Nadre Gyapo Tatene Lap Chen Ten De She Tun Dai Ge Sho Lama Gungam Sampo Sawada Sotu Gusei Rewa Sawada Tide Tashinge Pa Sawada Lama Dante Wame Pa Chingi Lo. Now the next page. So we're going to say this prayer, once in English, once in Tibetan, the remaining 3 in English only, and then the 100-syllable mantra. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of psychic existence, may I free all beings. Sonandi chamche sikani chone nipe janam kamche shin kegana ji balon chupai sipe tsole joa joa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, rise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world, ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and modal awareness, sound perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya. May I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishta Drito Me Bawa Sutokayo Me Bawa Subokayo Me Bawa Anurakto Me Bawa Sawa Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sawa Kama Sutsa Me Chitam Shriya Guru Ha 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 O Bhagawan Savatata Gata Vajrama Memunsa Vajriba Mahasamaya Sadha. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Before I let you go, I just want to make a couple of announcements. Best way to know what's happening with us is to subscribe to our newsletter. We haven't sent one out in quite some time, but it will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out and sign up if you haven't. A bunch of all the links and everything are in that description box below. Also, so like we're going to be in person at Lakewood Public Library for meditation and on YouTube like today, but also in person at the Lakewood Library. So look into that for next Saturday, same time, 10:30 to 11:30. And then we usually go for coffee pretty much across the street after that and have a little coffee sesh at the coffee shop after that. Just picking up my schedule here. So next Saturday is also a Buddha Day. So we will be doing so we'll be there till noon. So we have meditation from 10:30 to 11:30, and then from 11:30 to 11:30 to noon, we're doing the Buddha Sadhana. You're more than welcome to join us for that. Again, links below. We will be at some point doing a weekend seminar / retreat, probably towards the end of August, beginning of September. And then in September, we're going to start the Buddhism from the Ground Up series again, um, uh, which is our 3-year program. Information about that will be up on the website soon. I think there's like a general description right now, but not dates or anything like registration wise. So that's the first year studying a traditional text called Words of My Perfect Teacher. Anybody can do that. And I think it's a good place to start. It's kind of, it's a very traditional text, but I'm there to explain things and, you know, in our classes, I always assign readings and then questions to answer during those readings. And then we use the questions as a focus of our discussion in class. So this system seems to work quite well. So that's the first year. And then the second year is doing particular practice given to us by one of our dear lamas. And then the third year is doing the preliminary practices called Nundro. So that's a whole thing. Okay, so that's a 3-year program. You don't need to commit to the 3 years in order to do the first year, but you have to have done the first year to do the second year, and you have to have done the second year to do the third. So they build on each other like that. So that'll be starting in September, probably late September, and then we'll probably be adding another class as well. Not sure what yet, but again, newsletter is your friend for that. Finally, I am begging for money, which I hate doing, but there really just is no way around it in our society. Nobody is really financially supporting the Dharma. So, and we do have quite a lot of bills. So if you could please find it in your heart to donate whatever you're able to. We're still running our GoFundMe. You can donate to that, or better yet, to become a member and just have a little bit of money taken out every month. It's really the best way, because for you, it's one and done. For us, we know we have stable, income over time. So please consider that. It's so meritorious to support the Dharma. And, there's just not that much in this area. So, and there's not that many people who um, have, studied and practiced for over 35 years who are able to share with you. So it really is a kind of a unique situation and quite precious. So if you want to support that, even if you don't use it, that would be so great. And if you do use it, more reason to support it. And if it's just, $5 a month, $10 a month, that's fantastic. We don't judge, small or large. Whatever you can manage is just so great and so helpful for us and for keeping the Dharma alive in the West and in the hinterlands of the Midwest. Cleveland, it's not like we're in, California where there's a temple on every corner practically, or Colorado or something. It's not a lot going on around here. So we want to be able to support it in this type of area as well. All right, my lovelies, thank you so much again. And please have a wonderful weekend. And I hope to see you next Saturday in person and on YouTube, and for coffee if you can make it. Okay, bye. Have a great day.